tried to look at the overall cuts that we're expecting nationwide.
A local advocate speaking out against a federal budget bill, warning of potential changes in Arkansas's Medicaid and SNAP funding.
And yes, this graphic has changed from yesterday. Pretty similar weather from the past week is going to be the same for today, with maybe a spotty rain chance. We'll talk about that further coming up.
Plus, an early report on the effectiveness of U.S. strikes on Iran. Why President Trump is pushing back against his own intelligence agency.
But first, a live look outside in Bentonville. Good morning to you there. It is 6:30. Good morning. 5 News This Morning starts now.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News This Morning.
Well, hey, rise and shine. Time to get up and get moving and out the door, and another hot one.
Always, right? We're in that cycle now. Summer is officially here.
Yep, it's going to be the story day after day.
Yes, day after day. Not much change, at least for the rest of this week. And it is Wednesday. We've officially established that now. It is Wednesday this week, not Thursday. Anyway, we do have a little bit of some sunshine this morning. You're seeing those thin clouds out there. The sunrise about a half hour ago over Springdale. And of course, Springdale is the site of the Rodeo of the Ozarks all week through Saturday, but also for the parade at 10 a.m. this morning. And we are going to see mostly sunny conditions, maybe a little bit on the muggier side as well. Dew points in the upper 60s and low 70s, so it could feel like about 90 degrees, but it is going to be dry, so any of you headed out, it is going to be a nice day out there. Again, just make sure to stay safe out there in the heat as well. The UV index is at 11, so again, this pale fella, make sure he lets you know. That feels like it's going to be in the mid to possibly excuse me, upper 90s for northwest Arkansas later this afternoon. For the River Valley, many areas could hit the triple digits, especially early this afternoon. Now, in terms of those rain chances, we talked about it, they're going to be very minimal. But with that, we are going to continue to see the heat through this weekend for northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. It is going to cool off a little bit for rain chances next week, but for now, things look pretty spotty. We'll talk about that further here coming up, though, in a little bit. We'll take a look at traffic here. We'll go along I-40 at US 71 at the interchange there. Good morning to you there. Traffic moving smoothly across the region as of now. Again, that sun shining brightly there, so make sure you have those sunglasses, maybe that sunscreen if you're headed outside for extended period today. You'll have the complete forecast coming up in about 15 minutes. Joe and Tiffany.
All right, thanks for that, Danny. Well, the federal budget bill passed by the U.S. House is raising concerns here in Arkansas.
Advocates say that President Trump's one big, beautiful bill could lead to some cuts in food and health assistance programs. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer has more.
We want to remind them that as a lower income state, the impacts of these type of changes are going to have more impact here in our state.
Arkansas advocates for children and families say new federal legislation could significantly reduce Medicaid and SNAP benefits in Arkansas.
We tried to look at the overall cuts that we're expecting nationwide and to look at those cuts and how they would look in Arkansas. And we broke that down by county.
According to the group's new analysis, they say as many as 177,000 Arkansans could lose Medicaid coverage, and nearly 60,000 may lose access to food assistance if the Senate passes the bill in its current form.
There's no charitable program that can make up for the loss of a program like our SNAP food stamp program. That is the most effective program our nation has ever put into place to reduce hunger.
Laura Kellums, the Northwest Arkansas director, says rural areas could be hit the hardest. The House bill passed with support from Arkansas's 3rd Congressional District Congressman Steve Womack, who says it protects SNAP and Medicaid for those who truly need it, while cutting waste and lowering taxes. Senator John Bozeman echoed that, saying the plan will eliminate fraud and better serve working and middle-class families. And saying, quote, the Senate continues to work to finalize these and other policies to responsibly steward taxpayer dollars and make Arkansas and our country strong, safe, and more prosperous. Kellum says she's encouraging the delegation to remember their state when voting.
These cuts are being considered in exchange for tax cuts that low-income families wouldn't see the benefit from.
We also reached out to the Governor Sanders' office, who said in part that she supports common sense changes to Medicaid and is implementing a Medicaid work requirement in Arkansas for able-bodied working age adults. Well, nothing on this federal bill is final yet. The Senate is set to vote on the one big beautiful bill by the end of the week.
And President Trump is urging lawmakers to stay in Washington until it's done. In local news, an inmate out the Sebastian County Jail has died while being held for immigration authorities. Juan Manuel Lopez was booked back in May on DWI charges and also played on an ICE hold. The jail's inmate roster shows that he died last Friday. The A spokesperson confirmed his death to 5 News, but said any additional details will come from Arkansas State Police. ASP tells us the Criminal Investigation Division is handling the case, but so far they have not released any more information. We'll bring you updates as we learn more.
Well, new this morning, local responders came together to save a person's life in Oklahoma. The Vian Police Department says they got a call about an incident involving a train and a pedestrian on Tuesday afternoon. They shared these body cam photos of the rescue there west of Vian. Officers found the victim pinned underneath the train on a bridge. Police say one sergeant scaled the outside of the train in order to reach the victim. And multiple organizations there helped with this rescue, where teams were able to free the person and help them get off the tracks.
In other news, we're working to learn more about a crash at a gas station in Avoca. This video came into our newsroom last night from a viewer. Witnesses tell us emergency responders were on scene after a car crashed into the Avoca 1 stop. They say the vehicle drove off the road and drove right into the propane tanks at the gas station. We'll bring you any developments right here on 5 News.
And continuing coverage out of Washington County, a jury has found a former deputy not guilty of manslaughter.
Stephen Grindstaff was acquitted after jurors heard 2 days of testimony. The verdict comes nearly 2 years after Stephen Grindstaff was first charged, following a 2023 traffic stop that ended in the deadly shooting of Scotty Stacy. Among those who took the stand in the trial was an Arkansas State Police agent. He wrote the probable cause affidavit and admitted when he testified that he wished he had written his statements that day differently. After the verdict came down, we spoke with Grindstaff's attorney about the police agent's testimony.
He's a good agent. I think he was in a very difficult situation, but to his credit, when we walked him through during the cross-examination, he answered his questions truthfully like I knew he would. I knew that if when we got to trial, he would tell the true story. He would be able to say, yes, that's not exactly how it happened.
You can find more about this case on our website, 5newsonline.com, or on our free 5 News app.
And new this morning, enforcement police have identified the suspect in a series of break-ins earlier this month. They say Brennis Franklin is suspected of at least 25 vehicle thefts between June 9th and 11. The PD shared this photo saying they believe that the suspect may be driving a Nissan Altima and was last seen on Old Greenwood Road. Police say the suspect also has a history of domestic battery, and anyone who sees him should call 911. In East Arkansas, we're learning that state police have arrested the mayor of Helena, West Helena on tax charges. Christopher Franklin Sr. taken into custody during a traffic stop on Tuesday. State police say their investigation found that Franklin failed to file his taxes 4 out of the past 5 years. That's a felony in Arkansas. This all started when the local prosecutor asked state police to investigate in June of last year. Franklin was taken to the St. Francis County Jail with his bond set at $100,000.
Well, President Donald Trump is in Europe this morning for NATO meetings. The summit kicked off just hours after the president announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. The ceasefire holding after President Trump criticized both sides before leaving the U.S. An initial assessment from his own intelligence community says last weekend's strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites may have set their program back by a few months. That's all according to 3 resources familiar with the contents. Officials say the early assessment could change with more information. But on social media this morning, Trump declared the sites completely destroyed. Meanwhile, Democrats and some Republicans are demanding answers on Trump's decision to launch strikes without consulting Congress.
American people deserve to know the facts.
Classified briefings are now being pushed to Thursday.
After more than a month of testimony, the prosecution and defense have both arrested in the case against Sean Diddy Combs in a sex trafficking trial. The defense chose not to call any witnesses Tuesday, meaning Combs won't testify. Closing arguments are set for tomorrow, followed by jury deliberations. Now, if convicted, he could face life in prison. The National Transportation Safety Board says that Boeing and the FAA both share blame for an incident last year when a door plug blew out on a passenger jet at 16,000 feet. The incident happened 6 minutes after Alaska Flight 1282 took off from Portland. The accident left a gaping hole in the plane. 177 were on board, suffering minor injuries. NTSB investigators found fault with Boeing's training, production, and safety culture. The board also faulted the FAA's oversight.
The safety deficiencies that led to this accident should have been evident.
When the 737 MAX was being manufactured, Boeing says they removed that door panel to make repairs to rivets. Paperwork would have triggered additional inspections. It was never created, and the panel was reinstalled without those bolts. Boeing and the FAA say that they're reviewing the report and the recommendations. Both have made significant changes since the incident.